This is the Stockwell Roueche Show, giving you real-time information you need to make educated decisions about buying and selling in the world-renowned Twin Cities. Now your hosts and real estate experts, Jason Stockwell and Josh Roueche.
Legalize marijuana. Good idea or bad idea? One of the fun things we're going to get into today here on the Stockwell Roueche Show every Sunday, 10 a.m. on AM 1280 The Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
We have a great show today, a second week of our political show. Elections are coming up here on Tuesday. And so we have a great guest today, Anthony Meshke, who is running for state representative in 65A, District 65A. I just want to say a quick hello, Anthony.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, welcome. You're very welcome. And our mortgage guest today is Ryan Yardley with Marketplace, doing a mortgage update. Ryan, how you doing?
Morning.
And Casey Thrash is also here, our regular.
As always. Very happy to be here.
So this week, political guest today coming on, getting a different viewpoint from what we had last week. Next week, we'll be talking about, coming up, shows will be about the DREAM Act and how immigration can affect housing and real estate. And then another show will be about housing supply or a number of properties available to buy or sell will be another topic on our next two shows coming up. So, Josh,
Yes.
Update. We got Ryan Yardley with Marketplace here as a special guest and talking about the market update on mortgage. Josh will get into the real estate update as well. So maybe should we start with Ryan on the mortgage side? What's going on over on the mortgage side?
Well, you know, we're just coming off of some 52-week lows in the mortgage world. 30-year fixed rates dipped below 4% here about a week ago, but they have ticked back up. That's typically what you see is a little ebb and flow in the rates. But they were trending down. Of course, it might have something to do with upcoming elections. Everyone likes to say that anyway, so I will.
Gas prices are low.
Gas prices
Gas prices went back up, though.
Yeah.
They were below 3 and they're back up at like 320, or they're below 3 now. They're back up above 320.
Buy everything you can before Tuesday because everything's going to skyrocket after Tuesday.
Yes,
Make a trip to
absolutely.
Costco.
But no, the tip or advice I could give. So you know, the mortgage market review is the rates are down. Obviously, we're hovering right around 4 4.25. But here's the thing about the hovering. Why is it different between 4 4.25, or 3 7/8 on a 30-year fix? That is. I should also mention I'm with Marketplace Home Mortgage compliance reasons. My NMLS number is 1114522. Which, and for one reason or explanation of why I say that, is because we're regulated. I have a license. I have a responsibility. That number means that if I do something shady, I am going to be in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I wrote it down, so we got you covered. So
well, yes.
So if you're out there, write that down.
Perfect. Perfect. No, the thing is lending is flowing. People can get loans. Somebody said a while back is the mortgage market is tight. It's not tight. It's just thorough. So what I say is, you know what? Can people get loans? Absolutely, you can get loans. You're just going to have to turn in a lot more paperwork and a lot more documentation. And that $5,000 that showed up in your account last month, you're going to have a proof of where it came from.
Yep.
That's all.
Paper trail.
Yep. Well, that's great. So rates are low. Good time to buy. What were we talking about, Ryan, earlier about the pizza? Because I'm getting hungry here. So
Yeah,
when anybody said pizza, I kind of want to hear a little more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I have something. I consult with clients and have for a long time. I first got into the business back in 1994, and I like to come up with things that are easy for people to understand and remember. And I also like to make people chill out a little bit about the whole thing. Because people get excited and nervous and wondering what's what. So when we're talking about interest rates, let's say that today the rate is 4%, for instance. And I got a customer and they've got a house they found and now they're trying to decide, should I lock or not? They say, ooh, what do I do? What should I lock at 4%? Or what happens if it goes down to 3 7/8? Or what happens if it goes up to 4 1/8? So I ask them, I said, where do you order pizza from?
Here it comes.
And they say, what do What's that got to do with anything? I said, if you're going to order pizza to have it delivered to your home, where would you order it from? And
Carboni's.
they'll tell me. Okay.
Jet's Pizza here.
Mama's
Jets,
Pizza.
Okay. So then I say, and what is that order? What does that cost you? When the guy comes to the door and he holds his hand out, how much money did he put in his hand? And they give me a varied answer. And what it winds up being is, for the average household size, usually the cost of that pizza is about the same as 1/8 interest rate in difference in money cost on their mortgage every month. So let me simplify that. What you're doing is, if you decide to lock today, or you try to see if you're going to get an 1/8 better rate, or if you're going to lose an 1/8 in rate, you're risking one ordered pizza meal per month.
So either you're getting free pizza or you're paying for your pizza, right?
Yeah. So the thing is
that.
you can decide, if you're a gambler. Hey, I don't have a problem with that. You want to gamble and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and get 3 7/8. I'm going to hold out. You know what? If you lose and it goes up an 1/8, you lost a pizza. If you gain, you won a pizza. So the rates generally don't move more than an 1/8 in a day. It's pretty rare. Over the years, It's rarely happened. So generally, the rates are going to shift around. They're going to move up a little. They're going to move down a little. And I'm going to try and guide people as much as I can. But just like the stock market, I can't predict or tell you which way it's going to go. But we can watch and hold out. And what I do is I do my best job to educate my clients so that they can make educated decisions for themselves. I empower them to choose. I don't tell people what to do. I tell you how it works.
Give them
I
an
try
option.
to make it easy for them to understand.
Well, Ryan Yardley, thanks so much. If you're listening and you have a question, or if you want to learn more about the pizza, text RATE, RATE, just text RATE to Ryan Yardley, Marketplace Mortgage, 612-850-7500, 612-850-7500. Text the word RATE to Ryan Yardley. Thanks so much, Ryan Yardley, Marketplace Mortgage. Josh, what's happening with the housing? I'm seeing prices come down I track a lot of properties. I look at properties every day online, and what I'm seeing is price reductions happening a lot here coming into the fall. I think sellers are trying to get their house sold before the snow flies and before the holidays. What are you thinking?
No, I'm looking at statistics right here, and just for the month of October, we're seeing the current activity just in the median prices. They're up. They're actually up, or actually they're down from last year. You're right. So they're at 11.4% increase, which means that they're actually down from last year. So that's a change in 11.4% from last year. Where the last year's
the median sale price is up from last year for September, but
Correct.
What else is going on with as far as days on market and things like that?
Well, we're seeing
inventory or supply of houses.
Yeah, well, we're seeing the change in new listings from last year. It's up 1.6%, so that's a good thing with the the current
More properties available.
More properties available.
Could be a good thing. It'd be debatable. If you're a seller out there and your house is being reduced in price and it ain't selling or it's not selling, that's not a good thing. But
well, yeah, it's not.
But if you're a buyer out there, it's a great thing. So, and the rates are good and there's inventory available.
And that's going to be one of our shows coming up shortly in the next few weeks, is what's going on in the marketplace, in the change in prices and the change in inventory, which is housing supply. What we're seeing in pending sales, we're up 5.1% from this time last year.
Nice.
Which is
More
good.
sales, yep.
And then change in inventory, which is housing supply, we're up 6.1%, which is great for our market, because we start seeing things dip a little bit when we start coming in these winter months.
We see lower inventory.
Right.
So I think we need the buyers out there can start getting some quote or semi good deals out there right now, because sellers are motivated to sell
They're
before
starting to
it
drop
gets
their
too
prices.
cold.
Right.
And the rates are great, so take advantage of that. You listen to the Stockwell Roueche Show every Sunday at 10 a.m. here on the Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
Vote for the person, not the party. Anthony Meshke is running for District 65A. Anthony was born and raised in a small town in southern Minnesota, and it's where he attributes learning the values of hard work and for working for what you want. And he attributes that to his parents. After graduating high school, in a class of 12
Holy
people,
cow.
Yes, it was very
Holy
small.
moly, that is
Jay
small.
Leno with that?
He joined the Marine Corps, and 2 years later, He enrolled at the University of St. Thomas in St. Paul and graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. He's currently employed project engineer at Flint Hills Resources in Rosemount. Him and his wife and their daughter now reside in St. Paul, and they're expecting a second child in early 2015. Well, thanks for your service, first off.
Thank you.
For serving the Marine Corps. His website is anthony4mn.com. Anthony, FORMN.com. And he's running against a current incumbent in a district that's heavy Democrat voting district. And very, very good guy already. So, Anthony, quickly, from you, as far as what got you into politics and what keeps you involved in this race, which to me and an outsider looking in, going into that district, looks very, very daunting to take on an incumbent Democrat.
Yeah, it is very daunting, but I'm doing it for my children and my future grandchildren. I guess what really motivated me to get into politics was when my daughter was born. I saw how the hospitals were trying to force immunizations into my daughter, going to daycare. They're asking us, we signed a contract with the daycare, and now the daycare is trying to figure out how much we make, trying to get us to get all these other injections. I mean, why does a daycare need to know how much the parents make when we've already signed a contract with them, and we fulfilled that contract so far? So just the infringement of that, we want to, make sure our kids are healthy, so we want to feed them raw milk. That's illegal in this state.
Illegal?
Illegal.
Is it
I
really?
did not know
Yes,
that.
you cannot go to in the law it says you can occasionally go to a farm and get milk.
That's the law.
That's law. Occasionally is in the word.
Wow.
So, I mean, just laws like that where the government's telling us what we can and cannot eat. So that's something I don't agree with. And, I mean, the government's telling us that we can't buy a car on Sunday. We can't buy liquor on Sunday. They're just telling private businesses when they can and cannot be open.
So they're limiting a lot of the personal liberties that people think of when they come to the United States, or when they're in the United States. We're actually very limited in a lot of things, is what you're saying. That's not as free as...
Yeah, the government, higher level, the federal, the state level. I mean, we should be getting these laws down to a more local level, let the people in the actual areas decide how they want to be governed, instead of letting a state...
The big government.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of letting the state pass a law for the entire state, one city might not want their bars to close at 2, and another city might. So it's up to the cities. It's up to the people that are affected by the law most directly.
Well, Anthony Meschke running for District 65A. We're here with Ryan Yardley, Marketplace Mortgage. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
Casey Thrash is also here. We're waiting to hear from her. I'm excited to hear some topics. We're going to get into victimless crimes, pot smoking. Taxation will be another segment after that, and then a hodgepodge. We're going to talk Viking Stadium, police, and all kinds of other interesting topics where we have a very, very awesome candidate here, Anthony Meschke. We'll be back soon. We're back. Jason Stockwell. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show, Sundays at 10 a.m. here on AM 1250 The Patriot.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
Vote for the person, not the party. Anthony Meschke is our guest today, running for State Representative District 65A. We have not disclosed what party he's involved in yet. But, Anthony, maybe you want to talk about what party you are, why you chose that, and then we'll get into the victimless crimes.
Yeah, I'm endorsed Republican Party, and I guess from St. Paul, very liberty-oriented crowd. Came out for that and saw how the city was coming. I mean, the city is limiting the size of fence I can put in my front yard. So that's just the things that the government is bothering themselves with. They're taking time to pass these laws and everything like that, and they aren't focusing on actually protecting the people, getting government back to its limited role of protecting people from force and fraud.
Okay, so you're in, and I'm looking at your website here, so it's anthony4mn.com, and you go over privacy rights, government spying, you go over LGBT, sexual preference and identity. Your card says Anthony Meschke for weed. Now, I know some Republicans, a lot of Republicans, and I see Republicans, and one is they do not want weed to be legalized. They do not think that LGBT community should be able to marry and those sorts of things. What are your views on those, and how is that beneficial for that party do you think that can benefit that party and also that your constituents in St. Paul?
Yeah, I'm not trying to benefit a party. I'm trying to benefit the people. I mean, LGBT, the state shouldn't be involved in marriage, period. When we give the government the ability, I mean, they're given tax incentives to certain people for certain things, and I mean, they're singling out people. The government shouldn't be involved in, a religious sacrament. So we should just get them out of that totally, and then it wouldn't matter anymore who's married or what someone's definition of marriage is. It shouldn't really matter. So it's between you and your God, or your lack of a God, or however you want to do it.
Right.
What was the second part of your question you had?
The other question was with the weed. Drugs.
Yeah, let's talk about
Just
Totally
drugs.
sounded just like you're on the
just
car.
drugs. So I'm going to throw out a disclaimer
Sunday
here.
morning. Let's
Yeah.
talk about drugs.
So I don't do drugs. I don't have any desire to, but that doesn't mean I want to limit someone else's right to do it in their house. Now, when I say, I have road signs that say Anthony Meshke for weed, that doesn't mean I support all things that are typically tied into drugs. There's a lot of crime and force and things like that are tied to, people using drugs and stuff. If you are using force or fraud against someone else, I mean, that is a crime and should be punished. But if you're in your house and you grew your own marijuana in your backyard and you're smoking it in your house, you shouldn't be hauled off to jail for that. If you aren't hurting anyone, another argument that people bring up about that is, well, if you have kids in your house and you're doing that, you're neglecting that. I mean, child abuse is illegal, and it should be punished as such. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're drinking alcohol in your house and neglecting your kids or abusing them.
Or taking multiple prescription drugs that are legal.
Or you're playing World of Warcraft for 24 hours straight and neglect your kids. I mean, there's been cases of people dying from that. So do we outlaw World of Warcraft because of that? No, you shouldn't.
Yeah. So so privacy rights and government spying. You have as quote here says, data collection of any kind without consent or search warrant is unconstitutional.
Correct. That right is protected. I mean, our founding fathers, they weren't thinking of Facebook and text messaging and things like that, but the person is secure or people are secure in their person. I mean, that's everything around you. It doesn't matter if it's electronic or not. The government shouldn't be looking at that. They're using the guise of like terrorism and things like that. There's no documented case of them actually doing that. All they're doing are documenting. They're building new data centers to collect all the data on every single American citizen out there.
What about what's termed as Obamacare or healthcare? How do you feel about that? Or what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's the government's forcing you to buy something. So I don't think that's right, whether it is a good product or a bad product, or if you want it or you don't. The government shouldn't be forcing that. And then we're limiting healthcare to a single state. I mean, no state has the answer for every single constituent inside that state. I mean, we should open up healthcare to across state lines like we do vehicle and house insurance and things like that.
That's a good point. So Anthony Meshke website is anthony4mn.com, Anthony, FORMN.com. And I am sitting here a little in awe because I don't often talk to a Republican with those types of views. It's great because it's very open-minded on many things, and it's all about, it sounds like to me, it's all about the individual to you and the individual freedom and the ability to choose whatever you want to choose, whatever that may be.
Well, you can choose whatever you want as long as you aren't infringing on someone else. So you can't choose to punch someone in the face because then you're infringing on their freedom to stand there. So you can't say everything.
But most everything, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, most
you
things that are within the guidelines, you can do that. So you don't want government. You just want to take the hands off. The government's hands off on a lot of things. Right?
Government's role is to protect people, and not to protect people from themselves, but to protect people from others.
So, a quick example that you talked about earlier was daycare and things like that. So, give us a couple other examples besides weed, or how weed and how daycare, changing those laws could affect your constituents. What could you do for your constituents that the current incumbent, who's been there, I don't know how long, first term, right?
2010.
Okay.
Yep.
So what would you do? What could you do differently by your views and some of the things you want to do? How would that benefit people, and whether it's financially or lifestyle or whatever it may be? How would it benefit?
Yeah, letting people choose what they want to do. Rena Moran voted for the unionization of childcare. That is raising the price of childcare. You're putting these extra regulations on it. Parents were happy with that before. All that is union payback for the union or childcare unionization. It's union payback, and it's driving up the cost, and it's driving them out of business. One of my friends, he has autistic children, and he needs to hire in helpers during the summer, to help him take care of the kids. And the prices have gone up, and he can't afford to hire those people anymore. So we're having job loss in our district. Another thing is we're taking money. So we can get into this later, property taxes. But the light rail, $16,000 per foot on the light rail we spent. That's coming out of the people's tax money, and that's driving businesses out of the city.
Down there for sure.
Oh yeah, I talked to a lot of business owners, and it's the lowest that they've been. I mean, it hasn't come back because people found new restaurants that they like outside of it. They don't have to fight with traffic or construction anymore. And
is that light rail? You hear on the I just see the grand picture on the magazines or paper, Star Tribune and Pioneer Press and all that. It's a success. It linked Minneapolis and St. Paul. What's the real thing that people? Because I haven't ridden it. I've never ridden on it. I don't know what it is. I've never don't what it's like to ride on. Or if people say it's really long, that they still drive even though they could take light rail because it stops too many times. What's the real deal going on there from someone who lives in that district?
I have friends who can bike from St. Paul to Minneapolis faster than they can ride the light rail. I mean, it is slow. It takes over an hour. I think they're
not like Lance Armstrong type friends.
No, they're definitely not. They are not speed demons at all. They're doing it for the exercise. They aren't in shape already. They're doing it for the exercise. So
and they can beat the light rail.
They can beat the light rail.
Wow.
Yes. So what's the point in doing that? And the light rail, they're trying to speed it up by changing the lights and giving the light rail more priority. I mean, so you try and cross University or go along University, it takes forever because you have to wait for the trains and wait for the other traffic. And
so what do you do? How do you fix that? It's already in place. What would you be able to do, or what would some of your ideas be to?
We have the light rail. I think we should be utilizing it. We can't tear it up. It is a really nice light rail. They spent a lot of money on it, but they still have buses running right next to the light rail. And now they're putting in a express bus lane from St. Paul to Minneapolis. We're spending money on the light rail and we're spending money on buses. We should be funneling the buses to the light rail, use the light rail for what it's intended, instead of subsidizing every rider I think every ride is costing the taxpayers like $1 or something. I don't have the exact numbers. It's a little bit over $1, yeah.
You listen to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot, Sundays at 10 a.m. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
We have Anthony Meschke here running for District 65A, Republican endorsed candidate. Very, I would say libertarian or individual views on choice and things like that you don't hear, which is cool to hear from a Republican, in my opinion. And his website is anthony4mn.com, anthonyformn.com. As far as we just got over the light rail topic and things like that, coming from St. Paul to Minneapolis, what will get people to ride it? Just staying on the light rail thing here real quick, what does gas have to get to, or what do cars have to cost, or what's the, because I'm still driving a car.
Parking is
a lot of parking has disappeared, on-street parking, everything like that. A lot of intersections you can't turn across anymore because the light rail has blocked all that off.
So you said get more people to ride it. Don't put in extra bus lanes. Kind of drive people to this light rail.
Yep.
Anything else? What else?
We need to get businesses back into St. Paul. The businesses their property taxes were raised. They're assessed for a lot of this light rail. And how can you stay open? You're a small-time shop. You just went through a year and a half, 2 years of construction. The government gave you this huge loan that you now have to pay back. How are these small mom-and-pop shops supposed to stay open? People are not. I talk to people down there, and people support the light rail. They love it, and I ask them, "What do you think? In the future?" Like, well, I think it'll get better. Like, it's not awesome right now. They're just keep holding on to this hope that the light rail will make everything better.
Yeah. Well, I think with the light rail too is that Minneapolis and St. Paul have this such. I'm from Minneapolis or I'm from St. Paul. This is where I do all of my stuff. If live in St. Paul, I've got everything going on over there. That's where my life is. Same with Minneapolis. There's a lot of people who go back and forth for work, but the light rail right now where there's only certain spots that you can get on and get off, and it only takes you to certain spots.
Yep.
So if you're trying to go from Minneapolis to St. Paul, you then have to find transportation from the light rail to somewhere else where you're going.
Parking too, and where are you going to park?
And then you have to pay for parking and then pay for the ride.
Right, and you have to drive to the light rail unless you live in downtown Minneapolis or anywhere that's right on the light rail. You have to drive to get there.
And
so that's why not just drive to where you're going in the first place.
How many people live in downtown St. Paul and work in downtown Minneapolis? Not many.
Yeah, that's true.
In one
I'd be curious on statistics on if you're working do people take light rail? Cars are still the number one choice, and I think so. Right. Maybe they're planning for the future. Maybe this is a grand plan from the government to say this will happen when we eliminate cars. Or eliminate gas cars.
Eliminate cars.
You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show, AM 1280 to the Patriot. Anthony Meshke for MN.com. We'll be back talking about taxation, housing, and then the next segment will be Hodgepodge with Viking Stadium and property taxes. We'll be back soon. You're back listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show, AM 1280 to the Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
We have Ryan Yardley with Marketplace Mortgage, Casey Thresh, and our special guest Anthony for MN.com. Anthony is running in District 65A. Anthony Meshke for Weed is on his card here. And what I'm seeing here on his stuff is, what I'm hearing from Anthony, what I'm hearing from you is that you sound more like a Democrat in many ways to me than a Republican. You have protection of property rights. Paying property tax essentially means the government owns your land and you are renting it. This is good stuff for you to think about out there. Very enlightening topics because we don't think about this stuff. We just sit and we go through our daily stuff. We work, we pay our taxes, we do our things. But if you think about things with a different perspective, you're going to get some of these, some answers from some different answers, which are good to hear. So you're renting. Property taxes in many cases force fixed income and cause elderly people to lose their homes. I believe a sales tax on property sales and assessment for voter-approved improvements is better than property taxes. So, Anthony, we're real estate. We're very familiar with property taxes. We pay them all the time. We're also sell real estate, so it's very tough to say, okay, throw another tax on the sale, a transaction. What would your proposal be, though, to put a tax on the sale and then not pay property taxes?
Yeah, that would be, I mean, people know that going into it. You don't know what your property taxes are going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now, which is, when you're thinking about retiring or having kids or something like that. You can be taxed out of your property. Look at the farmers and things like that, out of state, the lower income retired people inside the city. I mean, they are being driven out of their homes because their property's going up. They haven't done anything. It's just the houses around them are going up in value. Now their property taxes go up, and they're on a fixed income. So it's driving them out of their house. I hear about Medina
a lot with the new houses going up, that the original owner that's been there for 30-plus years is not able to pay their taxes. They're going up because of the new constructions going right next door, and that raises their value, which is great for their home value, but just staying there on a monthly fixed budget is tough. So what would be the solution?
The solution would be get rid of property tax, go to a sales tax where people know what it is and it's fixed. And then if your road is improved in your house or they're plowing snow in front of your house, I mean, you should be paying for that. It's voter approved if it is. And talk to your neighbors about that. One thing. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, how are we going to pay for schools?
Yeah, I was thinking
schools is a big deal, and in certain parts of the metro, I know you go out and you cross a school district line, that house value just went up 20 grand. Yep. Same house on this side in this school district, and this district is 20 grand because of the school district, and some of the taxation and the money in that is going to make those schools. We have some of the greatest schools in the country here in Minnesota, and especially in our metro, and that would really be a big fear of mine, to destabilize our schools.
Well, there's already referendum-approved voting for funding the schools. So, I mean, it's already up to the voters for a lot of what gets funded. And we need to look at in the cities, I mean, we have a huge achievement gap in the schools. I think people are looking at that as, let's keep throwing more money at it. I don't think that's what we should be doing. We should give them the choices to the teachers, to the parents, to the school boards. Right now we're giving up to the state, we're giving up to Washington, D.C. on what's being taught to our children in school. So I think we need to get that back down to a local level, get the teachers focused on how the children are learning. Not all children learn the same exact way. So we need to get back to.
So isn't it a convenience factor, though, that I can just go out, work, pay my taxes, send my kids to school, and not have to worry about who's going to shovel my driveway, or not shovel my driveway, but shovel my street, and my kids are going to be in a good school with good teachers, and I don't have to. I mean, I don't have to be policing it every day and homeschooling and things like that.
It is a convenience, but what are your kids? I mean, the convenience factor is you've given up control over what your kids are learning in school. You're giving up control over how much you're paying for. I mean, what if the city comes in and says, all right, we're going to charge you $2,000 to plow in front of your house? I mean, you don't have any other options now.
Well, who's going to govern the teachers then if we do something like that? I mean, as
The
far as
parents and the elected school boards. That's who's supposed to be governing the teachers.
And so that would be so that's a big feat. Like we had Lena Buggs on last week. She's also running in your district as a Green Party candidate. She had some things that I looked at and I said, "How in the world could you get that through to the current people that are running our state legislature?" You know, it just doesn't seem feasible. Like this seems like something that's going to be an idea to think about, but you have to change a lot of minds and take a lot of history that's happened to do that, right?
Yep, and to look at it and say, "Oh, it's a mountain. We can't climb that, so we aren't even going to try." And we have to start taking steps forward to educate the people, show them how everything's intertwined. We look at the the failed war on drugs. We're putting people in prison, in jail for victimless crimes. That's breaking up families. So you have a single parent household. That person is working to raise their kids. They aren't having the time to help their kids study for school. They aren't having the time to be engaged in what their kids are learning, being involved in school. So if we were to, change some of these policies, get police back to protecting people, we'd have more people taking care of their kids.
So that's what you said here. Discrimination of victimless offenses. I believe laws against various vices and nonviolent crimes overburden our prison system. And mainly, probably marijuana is one of the top ones on that.
Yeah, marijuana and raw milk. There was a court case that came up. They were talking about putting a farmer in prison for selling milk to people who wanted it.
What's the reason behind that? Why wouldn't I be able to go out and drink raw milk if I wanted to? Is it a protection for the government's protecting me from getting sick?
Now the government has the right to put these stipulations on there. They have control over how many gallons of milk are taxed. Because if a farmer is going right to the consumer and selling them a gallon of milk, the government doesn't know how much they're
pass
selling
through the middle person.
Same thing with brewing your own wine. You can't brew more than 200 gallons of wine a year, and and then they have to. If you're a small brewery, they come in and put these special measuring devices, or you have to go through a certain container so that the state can regulate how many gallons and how much to tax you on it.
So you have to feed the system, is what I'm hearing. If you're making too much and you're doing something, then you're not getting taxed.
Well, yeah, they need more money to pay for Viking stadiums. They need more money to pay for Senate office buildings.
So you're not a proponent of the Viking Stadium?
No, not at all. Not at all. That's $350 million of the taxpayers' money. We aren't funding our schools. We aren't funding our police pensions. But you have enough money to give to large private corporations.
Wouldn't that drive business to the Twin Cities by having a new Viking Stadium? It creates jobs. I heard Governor Dayton talk about the number of jobs that are going to happen in that construction. Now, there's a shortage of concrete out there in new construction, I'm hearing, probably because of the Viking Stadium.
Right.
But every day I deal with the union workers, pipe fitters, and boiler makers, iron workers, everything like that. And there's a huge shortage of workers out there right now for private businesses to be able to fund their own investments in their own companies, because the government is building their own pet projects and funding these things. So now private businesses don't have the manpower to fund their own investments.
So the benefits of the people coming in to watch the game, getting the Super Bowl, all those things you don't think.
With the Super Bowl, there's a 56-page contract of things that the NFL requires from the state to do. So the state's already passing laws where you can buy liquor on Sunday during the Super Bowl. So they're passing.
So they're going to bend on that one for the
NFL.
they are.
For the Super Bowl.
When it's something that benefits them, they actually will pass a law, and they'll actually, they show you then, we can work together.
Yep.
We can do this for people. But then when it comes to something else where they completely disagree and it's the benefit for the public and for the people, they just won't move on their their point of view or
it's
what
them
they
having
want.
control. They pass these laws, and then they have the right. Who's going to go out there and really fight and stand out there for Sunday liquor? It doesn't affect you every day, but it's just that one small step.
It affects you on Sundays.
Wisconsin never wants us to change that law. It's just a gravy train for them.
It helps
because
all of them.
Their Sunday sales are great because they do it, and people drive over there on Sunday if they didn't plan ahead here. They drive over there to get liquor on Sunday. I see it all the time. So the farming real quick. You're from a small town.
Yep.
12 people in your graduating class. This is Anthony Meschke running for District 65, a Republican, a great guy, very, very, very educated, very for the people, if you will, as far as his view of what the world should look like for you. But farming, you're from a farming town. You believe removing government subsidies from all farmers will reduce the cost of living for all Minnesotans, stop distorting the market, and allow free market to decide. Farmers aren't going to want that at all. They need that subsidy sometimes to get by, is what I'm told. What's your take on that?
Need is a very strong word. So my mom and dad, they still farm 120 acres of crop farms, and my father-in-law milks 30 head of cattle and raises all. He farms also about 100 acres.
Yep.
And the big ag bills, that is not benefiting them. It's not benefiting the actual farmers who need the help. They don't have a lobbyist to go to Washington, D.C. or go to the state capitol.
Who's getting the money?
It's the large corporations, Cargill and everyone else like that, who can afford to send a lobbyist in there to write a law to help them. We should let the market dictate what the prices are. The government's legislating ethanol needs to be in every gallon of gas. I mean, I support that. I think we should be looking at alternative things, but I don't support the mandate that it has to be there. That's driving up the price of corn. It's making people plant corn that they don't want.
They wouldn't have.
Yeah, that they wouldn't have otherwise. So it's distorting the market, and the consumers are losing out.
Anthony Meschke, Anthony4mn.com, Anthony4mn.com. You're listening to Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
On AM 1280 The Patriot every Sunday at 10 a.m. Minimum wage. You want to get back to this and get Ryan Yardley with Marketplace's opinion on this, along with Anthony's opinion on minimum wage. We had a hot topic last week. Lena Buggs said minimum wage should immediately go to $15 an hour. I have a feeling that Anthony doesn't agree. We'll see you soon. We're back. You're listening to the Stockwell Roueche Show here on AM 1280 The Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Josh Roueche, Remax Advantage Plus.
We have Anthony Meschke here, and we have Ryan Yardley. Ryan Yardley with Marketplace Mortgage. Anthony Meschke running for District 65A in St. Paul. Vote on Tuesday. He's running a Republican ticket. He is for legalizing marijuana. He is for gay and lesbian marriage. He is for labeling GMOs. He is for... not for Obamacare. He is for eliminating government subsidies on farmers. And he is for what on the minimum wage? What is your minimum wage stance? I'll read real quick, Anthony, here. Workforce participation rates have been slipping, and youth unemployment is becoming a bigger issue, which greatly concerns me. Government should realistically focus more on lowering unemployment than raising the minimum wage. Our last guest last week, Lena Buggs, running against you. She was for $15 an hour minimum wage, immediate effect. Called it a cost of living wage. What would your stance on that be, Anthony?
Yeah, cost of living. I'd like someone to define what cost of living is for my family, for me, for you. I mean, cost of living is different for every single person. So to say this person can live on $15 an hour isn't right. To say this person can live on $9 an hour.
It's different for everybody.
It's different for everyone.
Depending on your spending habits, lifestyle, what you have. Right?
Exactly. If you want lobster every night, I mean, that's your cost of living. But
yeah, that's a pretty hefty cost of living, right? Right, Josh?
That's hardcore. We're doing lobster every night. That's a little tough.
Yeah,
sounds great.
The government can't tell me how much I'm worth an hour. So in the bill, they have exemptions for underage workers and for disabled people. So in the bill, it says that not everyone creates the same amount of value. I mean, in the bill, they don't have exemptions
which
for
everybody out in the normal world knows. It's common sense. Not every person's not the same. If some people create a tremendous value, some people create no value.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. And to dictate that everyone's going to make $15 an hour, what if that person can't create $15 worth of value for that company?
Then they wouldn't hire, right?
They would not hire them, and they're going to hire a higher skilled worker that can create that. So minimum wage, it disenfranchises the unskilled workers, and it helps the unions, which are higher skilled. Unions are pushing for minimum wage because of that.
Wait a sec. How would it help the union if you increase minimum wage? Because then everybody would go into unions?
No, the skilled workers. I mean, if you
they become more valuable.
Right, yeah. Right. So if you're mandating $15 an hour in minimum wage, and you have someone who can't create $15 an hour in value for a company, they aren't going to be hired, or they're going to be fired, and then you're going to get higher skilled workers. So
you're saying, what's your stance then? Minimum wage. What should it be?
Get rid of minimum wage. Let the employer and the employee decide what the value.
Great.
Of
We're
the
in
work
China.
is.
You're going to be working for
Oh,
10
we
cents an
are.
hour.
We're talking about China now.
You would say no minimum wage whatsoever. So you're not going to protect any of the workers at all on their pay.
No, that's up to the workers to
So
join that contract with
So
the
the
employee.
bosses can take advantage of the workers.
Then the workers would leave, and the bosses wouldn't get their work done.
Okay. So
It's
no So
Interesting.
it stands to be no minimum wage whatsoever. Let the market figure that out. Ryan, real quick, minimum wage, a current minimum wage. What could someone buy a house? And say
At minimum wage.
median sale price here is about 200,000 or a little over. What could someone buy? Or in your district, Anthony, median sale price might be slightly lower due to some of the parts of the city. So let's just use a $150,000 purchase price. Could someone buy a house with minimum wage on that? The current minimum wage.
Well, no, I would say most likely not. Here's some numbers that I ran while we were on break there. So let's presume that they're at $9 an hour. Minimum wage is somewhere around that area. But $9 an hour, you're making $18,720 a year. To qualify for a mortgage, we can only use 42, 44, 40-ish percent of your income on a monthly basis. So that only leaves us with $624 a month in housing dollars. And
that's including property taxes.
So what kind of mortgage you can get for $600?
Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
I don't even think you could rent for that. What?
Well, rents,
You can get some rents for that in some areas, but not very many. I mean, when I ran numbers to get up to our average, it seems, and now that's also considering you have no credit cards, no student loans, and no car payments. Okay, so you would have to have zero debt to be able to qualify for $624 a month in housing at minimum wage. Now, if a person's making, say I ran numbers at $30,000 a year, which is $14.42 per hour, you can get into qualifying for
A house.
For a house. Yeah.
I see why politicians look at it that way. Then they look at the numbers just like you did. What will it take to buy a house or live? You can then therefore raise the minimum wage to that, therefore ensuring that person will then be able to live and buy a house.
Which
Makes sense. Makes sense, right?
No, that drives up the cost of everything else. You think houses are going to stay at a fixed price? $150,000 is a nice house in my neighborhood. I didn't pay that much for my house.
Okay.
So to say that everyone has to have a $150,000 house is not accurate. I have multi-generational families living in the same house next to me on the block. So, I mean, to say that that's the only option is to force someone to pay someone more per hour is to get another house. That's not the only way to do this.
No, and I don't think that as a mortgage person, I have to be responsible to make sure people can afford what it is that they're buying, and some people shouldn't afford to buy a house. And I don't know that the government should be responsible for making sure everyone can afford to buy a house. That's not.
Well, that's where we got in trouble a lot before, is all these different loan programs that were out there in the secondary market, all these different loans that were allowed. That's kind of what hurt our economy in the first place.
Oh, yeah. The loans were allowed because the government's subsidizing these loans. They said, all right, bankers, we want everyone to have a house, so we're going to back all these loans. Well, the people, they didn't put enough value on the house, didn't put enough value on the loan, so they defaulted, and the banks kicked that right back to the government, and the government paid it off. So who was stuck holding the bag? The taxpayers were.
Always.
We bailed out all these big banks. We should have let them go bankrupt because that's how the market works. Another company's going to come along, pick that up, and start doing the practices with the lessons learned from the big banks failing.
Well, and I kind of have a point to go back to the fact of where you said, let's let the workers and the employers, the employees and the workers, let's let them set what they're going to make on an hourly wage. Mm-hmm. I saw a video about 6 months ago that was telling a story about some disabled workers that worked in a discount store that was either Goodwill or something like that. Well, in a loophole that had happened because of a law that the government passed, those workers, there was no minimum wage. So they're making $3 an hour. One of them was a husband and wife. They worked at the same place. One was making $3 an hour. One was making like $4.25. Well, they couldn't live on that amount of money. And then one of them got fired because he had made a couple mistakes. So now you have one person who's making $3 an hour for a couple that is disabled and has so much to overcome. How would you
in the
go
bills
on that?
do you prevent that?
When they're talking about minimum wage, they still have exemptions in there for age and for disability. So I mean, just say minimum wage is $15, they aren't including everyone. So the government is then singling out people by their race, age, gender, or disability.
Yeah.
So the government's picking that, and yeah, they had exemptions for it, which we give government the ability to make these laws, and then we give them the ability to make these loopholes.
So you can blame Republicans, Democrats for that exemption there right now for disabled and young
the
workers.
big state, yep. And what we're forgetting about is private charities. If Goodwill wants to employ these people, that's fine. We're removing the private charities and people donations. I mean, that donations and charity are going down because everyone thinks the government is going to take care of it. The government has so many problems. They're like, well, I'm not going to donate to my neighbor. The government's going to take care of them.
Yep.
So
I pay enough taxes. Why should I donate
exactly.
more?
I'm paying taxes, so I don't have to think about the people on the side of the road.
I hear all that all the time, that especially when you go down to you look at your neighbors now. We don't know our neighbors.
Yep.
We don't even pay attention to them anymore. We don't need them to help us. We don't need them to shovel our driveway. We take care of that ourselves. It's so individualistic sometimes that the community, the local level, has gone
It's gone.
gone bad because of so much government taxation, in my opinion.
Yep.
But Anthony Meschke, Anthony4mn.com, Anthony, FORMN.com. Thanks so much. Ryan Yardley, if you want to learn more about the rates or getting a loan or questions about that qualifying, text RATE, R-A-T-E, to 612-850-7500, 612-850-7500. Thank you, Ryan, with Marketplace. Great conversation. Next week, we will be talking about the DREAM Act and immigration and how immigration is affecting housing, whether it's helping you in a good way or a bad way, and your thoughts. And we'll have a guest on that who's actually an immigrant talking about that and selling real estate to immigrants. I'm Jason Stockwell with RE/MAX Results.
Josh Roueche, RE/MAX Advantage Plus.
We'll see you next week. Have a great week. Love yourself and love others.